Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to be doing something new. We're going to be looking at the Torah portion of the week through the lens of marriage. And my intention, with Hashem's help, is to try and do this over the course of the next couple of weeks to give over some marriage perspectives that hopefully can be helpful to you. Now, you may not be married, so please know that this lesson is for you as well, because everything that is true in our relationship with a spouse is also true in our relationship with God, which is another one of our most private connections. So you can listen to these words and either store them for when you are married and or apply them in your life right now in your current relationships, in your familial relationships, and also in your private connection with Hashem, okay? But it has just come to my awareness that the marriage topic it's time for it to be discussed, so we're going to head into it through the lens of the parsha. Today we have 5 teaching points that we want to get through, all right? And the parsha of the week is Lech Lecha. Lech Lecha literally means go for yourself. And these are the words that God tells Abraham, Hashem tells to Abraham, and he tells him in many, many languages. Lech lecha, go me'artzecha, from your land, from your birthplace, from your father's house, to the land that I will show you. This is what God tells Abraham. And these words, Lech lecha, are famous because they are the way that God calls all of us. Lech lecha, it's time to go. Something new is happening. I've got a plan for you, and it's time for you to come along. Rashi, which is a great commentator, says right there on these words, what's the depth of Lech Lecha? The depth of Lech Lecha is leha'anascha uletovascha. I just love the way those words sound. They're like a song. Leha'anascha uletovascha, for your benefit and for your good. In other words, God's telling Abraham something really, really difficult. I want you to leave everything that's familiar and come with me, and I'm not telling you where you're going. I'm going to show you where you're going. That's really hard. And embedded in there is this word lecha. It could have just said lech, which means go, but Hashem said lech lecha. I'm telling you now, I know like this, you may not be able to see it now, but I'm telling you, it's for your good and for your benefit. So where I want to look today is at the journeys that we take in life together with our spouses. And this is point number 1. When you get married, nobody tells you that the journeys are included. So here is the memo. Massive journeys are going to be included in your married life. Massive job upheavals, or perhaps moving to a different city, or perhaps troubles with children, or perhaps major troubles with debt or in-laws, or some other such journey. These journeys feel like they're an interruption to your peace. They can feel actually traumatic. And I'm just going to pause for a moment so you can take stock of your journeys in your married life. If you've been married for a little while, you have had stops along the way, journeys that you've been asked to take. And the first thing that you need to just be aware of is this is the life. This is the normal. This is exactly as it's meant to be. It's not like, as it would seem on the surface, other people are married and they're just having a lovely time and you somehow have bumped into some kind of upheaval, trauma, or big distress. No, that's part of the package. We all have journeys. Not only that, but your marriage has journeys. It has seasons. Seasons when it gels and there's a certain type of connection, and seasons when it's less, seasons when you have to work at it a little more. These are all part of the journeys that we take. Seasons when you may have to go for help. That's normal. These are all the journeys, and that is the first point that I want you to just drink in really, really sweetly with compassion. Your marriage is going to have journeys, and this is normal. Now, when you're in it, it doesn't feel normal. When you're in it, it feels really scary, and it is uncharted territory. You don't know what to do next. And that feeling of powerlessness and not knowing, like, how in the world do we get out of this? How in the world do we navigate this? This is normal. It's the journey, okay? So just please, as we wrap up point number 1, just take a look in your heart and acknowledge that, yes, there have been journeys, and have compassion. This is a really big thing that has been asked of you, just like God asked Abraham himself to go on a journey. It's big, and it wasn't easy. Okay? And it may still not be being easy right now, but that's okay. That's the journey. Let's continue on. Point number 2. Point number 2 is that you will respond to the journey sometimes differently than your spouse. So what makes these journeys more difficult within a marriage, as we're talking about it in marriage, is that you are not married to yourself. You're married to your other half. And that means that you can experience the same thing, God forbid, tremendous loss or something else. And even though it's the same experience, and even though you're married, you will experience it in different ways. Sometimes you'll have one spouse that takes a very spiritual approach, another spouse that takes a very practical approach. Sometimes you'll have a spouse that curls inward, and then you have this other spouse who's just like managing and compensating and doing. Sometimes you have a spouse that takes a long time to get over things, and another spouse who's like super fast. They just got over it. The things that happen to us in life, even though they happen to you as a couple, they hit you differently. They're landing on a different heart. Oof, you hear that noise? They're landing on a different heart. They're landing on a different life experience. And so whenever we journey together through a life upheaval, we've got to adopt emotional maturity to be able to hold our own experience, part 1, and part 2, to allow for our spouse to have a different experience. And this can have sometimes a tinge of loneliness to it, like we're experiencing the same thing in different ways. And the way to alleviate that is to know that Hashem understands you and validates exactly how you're experiencing this, and to create a safe space in between. There's this space of how you experience things, there's this space of how I experience things, and then there's this place where we come together. My friend likes to call it huddling together, and we just love each other. We're just going to get through it. It doesn't mean that we see it the exact same way. What matters is that we are holding on to our shalom bayis, our marital harmony. We're holding on to a safe place where we're going to get through this together. And that's the main thing. Okay? So first, be aware, it's going to land differently. And that's normal. How do we navigate it? We validate our own space, but then we come to a safe place together where we're just holding on to being good to each other. We're going to keep on loving. And when, you feel those differences in how you navigate, then you just know, like, I honor myself, I honor the other. And I'm going to come back to love. And sometimes in really, really difficult times, if you have been blessed to have those, like if life hits you in a really big way, then that being good to each other takes on an even higher value. Just being kind and being compassionate. You may not understand exactly what your spouse is going through, but you can understand that a warm cup of coffee feels good and that it feels nice when people are kind to each other. So you just want to come back to kindness, okay? That is point number 2. Point number 3. The journeys are not interruptions. They are there to get you to the next step. So believe it or not, just like you want to have sweetness and love and total connection in your marriage, so too does God want that for you. And so these things that look like they are interrupting your marriage or difficult or just, interruptions on a smooth journey are actually the exact thing that you need to bring you closer together. They're not interruptions. They are your marriage, okay? Please hold on to that truth. Once you know that, then you can know how to work with it. You can keep your eye on a relationship instead of getting scared or freaked out. Sure, you can get some help, but just having the knowledge, this is part of what is going to bring us closer, and I have to let it, okay? If I don't allow for that, then literally anything can, God forbid, pull a couple apart. Things can get really hard. So we attune our eye that whatever is happening is meant cosmically to bring us together. Now, it is true, and we're going to get to this, that part of bringing you together is sometimes that one or the other part of the couple needs to do some firming up. So the togetherness of a marriage is not like a straight line. It's much more like a wave or a heartbeat. And this is the vitality of life. This is the sweetness that Hashem has for us. The sweetness of connection is in the reunion. Okay, if something is always connected, it never tastes the pleasure of connection. The sweetness of building relationship is that we feel apart, we work to come back together. We disagree, we work to agree. It goes out and in, out and in. This is like the angels with Hashem, Ratzav Hashav. They go back and forth, okay? There's something infinitely beautiful that's built into creation, which is the process of reunion. So just know, any interruption, it's part of the process. It means that there's a new space, and hopefully a deeper space that you can come back together in. And this takes a lot of hope, okay? It means that you have to believe in this, hope for it, work for it, all right? Number 4, these Lechas in your life, these places where you're asked to journey, they are part of cementing your relationship away from your Father's house and to each other. You know, it's so interesting because we all know that you marry some type of fixing for your inner psyche or your inner childhood. Perhaps you marry someone exactly like your father or the opposite of your father, or exactly like your mother or the opposite of your mother. These are the ways that human beings move in order to heal our hearts. It's like part of the mathematical equation of how we find our spouses and which spouses are suited for our soul. So we have this attachment to the way things were in our father's house, so to speak, which is the words that Hashem used with Avram, leave your father's house. The attachment could be a trauma attachment that, God forbid, a father was so awful and now I blame and look at my husband in that same way as if he's dangerous and awful. Or perhaps my father was so wonderful and I'm still waiting for my husband to be exactly like my father. Same thing with mothers. Perhaps I felt very belittled by my mother, or in some way controlled, or it was unpleasant or neglectful, and now I look for a wife, and I'm like throwing that shadow on her as if she is that woman. Or perhaps my mother cradled and cuddled me so much, I'm waiting for my wife to make me feel the same way. These are just things that come up. So the interesting thing is that as we come closer in our journey, we, so to speak, leave our Father's house. We are being asked to rewire our psyche away from those early imprints that leave us with our sweet childish needs. I don't say childish in any diminutive way. I mean, it's the childlike needs, I should say. The child part of ourselves that's still like looking for someone to fill a space. And instead of looking for our spouse to fill that space, now we can mature into leaving our Father's house, leave the childhood, and see the person that's right in front of you. The journeys force you to confront, who am I married to? What is their beauty? Not just in comparison to my childhood, but like, who am I really standing in front of? What are they about? And to deepen this discovery. When you deepen this discovery, it's really gorgeous work to look at your spouse in a new way. What are you really about? What makes you tick? Who are you now? You're not the same person as when I first married you. I'm curious about you. What are your dreams now? and so many different things, and I hope that we'll get to talk about them in other classes, really practical ways to enhance this like newness in your marriage. But for today, just in our Lecha, which is all about the journey, we want to just know that what Hashem has in mind is leave your father's house, see who's in front of you here and now. And that takes a lot of work for us. It takes a lot of work to love and accept one another exactly as we are now, without asking from each other to be, the same as a parent or totally different than a parent. There's going to be plenty of overlap. People are people. So that is on leaving your father's house, and that is point number 4. Now we come to point number 5. Okay. Sometimes in life, one of you will get the call, Lech Lecha, you're going on a journey, and the other one of you will be a supporter. I'm sure that you're familiar with this. Sometimes someone falls into a midlife crisis or a deep depression, or they get, canceled from a job, or they have a relationship, something, right? And it brings them down, 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 down. And they are just on their own inner journey. And what are you to do? You are to take very good care of yourself so that you can be a support for the other. When someone is in a deep, dark hole, they don't need you to join them in the deep, dark hole. That doesn't help them. What they need is some light. So when one of you is going on a journey, the other one of you has to take very good care of themselves so that they can offer light, kindness, compassion, safety, stability, sensitivity towards the one who is going through a hard time. Sometimes someone is asked to go on a Lech Lecha, and it's not about a hard time or a depression. It's about something awesome in their life. They're creating something new. They are being asked to go on a journey to make their vision come true. In that case, what is the spouse to do? The same thing. The other spouse must take very good care of themselves. But in this case, it's the opposite. In this case, that spouse needs the light. You who are supporting and taking very good care of yourself, you need some light. All the light is going to the vision. So then you must ask for your needs. You must say, I know you have all this light for your vision. I'm super excited and happy for you. I need some light too. Can we spend some time together? You're kind of saying, hello, I'm here. I need some light. Okay? I need your light, even though I'm taking good care of myself. So these are 5 points about Lech Lecha and the journey of life and marriage. And what I would love for you to do is just to think for yourself, what is the journey that I am on right now? How can I fall more deeply in love with myself on this journey, honoring how I'm showing up? How can I fall more deeply in love with my spouse, giving them a more compassionate eye for their part of this journey? How can I honor their strength or their fortitude or their goodness in the face of what we're going through? If right now is not a massive time on your journey and things are super beautiful and pleasant, then you can just take stock of that as well. Take stock of the fact that if you are here at a pleasant moment, it means that you have gone through many Lech Lechas. And this piece has required hard work of you. So give yourself some acknowledgement for that hard work. Okay, that is all for today on the journey of marriage through precious Lech Lecha. And I am wishing you so many blessings. Take care. Bye-bye.